training support program. In this section, we'll be dealing with flight mechanics. Flight mechanics, we'll have two topics. One is aircraft performance and aircraft stability and control. In aircraft performance, we'll be dealing with topics such as different conditions, that is minimum drag, power, drag to velocity, what happens to the aircraft performance, how it is affecting the aircraft performance. Then effect of altitude, effect of weight on various aircraft performance, effect of different engines on how it affects the performance. Then climb, glide, takeoff, landing and turning performance, range and endurance, how effect of wind on performance of range and endurance. Then how we are drawing flight envelope, that is Venn diagram. Then atmosphere, different kinds of airspeeds, NACA airfoils, classification of airplanes. In that classification of airplanes itself, we'll discuss about how various airplanes like monoplane, biplane, why we are using, what is the advantages and disadvantages of each configuration, low wing, mid wing, whatever the configuration is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of various configuration we'll be dealing with. Then effect of compressibility, that is effect of Mach number on various aircraft performance parameters. Then aircraft instruments, aerodynamic center and center of pressure. Then critical Mach number, drag divergence Mach number, those kind of phenomena. Then in aircraft stability and control, we'll be dealing with static stability, dynamic stability. Then in longitudinal static stability, we'll be dealing with stick fixed and stick free condition. And longitudinal dynamic stability will be discussing about phugoid and short period oscillations, and how wing positions and tail positions affect the longitudinal stability. Then neutral point, how it is affecting, what is its effect on stability. Then lateral and directional stability, and how various components affects stability of lateral and directional mode. Then aerodynamic balancing, cross coupling effects, dynamic effects and control reversal and dynamic effects. Okay. Total of 20 hours we'll be dealing with both aircraft performance and stability. In that 10 hours for aircraft performance parameters, then 10 hours approximately for aircraft stability and control. In this section, we will not be dealing with any derivations or any lengthy derivation, nothing will be there. Only thing is we'll be discussing on we'll be mainly discussing on how it is to approach any problem or whatever it is. Okay. And if you are new to IGC, I am Navneet Krishnan, who have been teaching for IITN's GATE classes for the past 4 years in GATE Aerospace. So this section will be dealing with all our concept-oriented questions, concept-oriented problems. Okay. 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 First, we'll start with minimum drag condition. We will not be dealing with any derivation. Only we will be dealing with concept-oriented questions. Minimum drag conditions. Okay. We all know steady level flight equations. There are only 4 forces acting on the aircraft. One is lift, which is acting at the center of pressure location. First component is lift, which is acting at the center of pressure location, acting perpendicular to free stream velocity. Free stream velocity. Okay. Second is drag force, which is again acting in the center of pressure location. It is the center of pressure distribution, okay, which is again parallel to the free stream velocity. Parallel to free stream velocity. It is opposing the aircraft motion. It is opposing the aircraft motion. It is parallel to free stream velocity. Third force is thrust, which is acting at the engine center line. Engine center line. Last force is weight, which is acting at the CG. Okay. Generally, what happens is, we know steady level and steady level equations. That is lift equal to drag. Sorry, lift equal to weight, thrust equal to drag. That is, if you have to move forward, you have to overcome the drag. That is, you have to provide more force compared to drag in order to move forward. So that is provided by your engine. Lift should balance your weight in order to maintain your steady level flight like this. Lift is balanced. Lift is balanced by weight because lift is acting at the center of pressure location. Weight is acting at the weight is acting at lift is acting at the center of pressure location. The anecdote, this one is causing issues. Okay. Lift is acting at the center of pressure. Weight is acting at the center of gravity. So these two forces has to be balanced. Force balance has to be there. So lift equal to weight. Then same way thrust is acting on the engine center line. Engine center line. And drag is acting at the center of pressure location. Okay. Drag is acting at the center of pressure location. This is your steady level flight equations. Steady level flight equations. Okay, steady level flight equation. From steady level flight equation, we know that thrust required is nothing but that is equal to drag, that is equal to 1 divided by L by D, 1 divided by L by D into weight. So drag depends upon weight and L by D. So if you want to have drag minimum drag, then L by D should be maximum. L by D max corresponds to minimum drag condition. First thing is L by D corresponds to minimum drag conditions. Okay. Okay. Next thing is, we know thrust required, that is equal to drag, which is nothing but CD into half rho V square S. So first, drag is directly proportional to your drag coefficient, CD. CD depends upon two parameters. One is CD naught. CD naught is your parasite drag coefficient. CD naught is your parasite drag coefficient or profile drag coefficient. Okay, it only depends upon profile of your aircraft. And second parameter is CL square by pi E AR, which is nothing but your induced drag coefficient. It is nothing but your induced drag coefficient. There is one more drag coefficient, which is nothing but wave drag coefficient. That is Mach drag or wave drag or foam drag coefficient. Okay, it is only happens when Mach is greater than 1. Okay, this coefficient will be there only when Mach is greater than 1. The equation CD equal to CD naught plus CL square by pi AR corresponds to drag polar equation. Drag polar equation. CD naught depends upon profile of your aircraft. Profile is nothing but your pressure and skin friction drag. When flow is flush with the surface, what happens? When flow is flush with the surface, that is, flow is attached to the surface, skin friction drag will be more. When flow detached from the surface, pressure drag will be more. So, during a turbulent flow, since flow will be remaining attached to the surface in turbulent flow, what happens is skin friction drag will be more. Laminar flow is easy to separate, so the pressure drag will be more on the laminar aerofoils. Okay. The other parameter is CL square by pi AR. It is the induced drag coefficient, which depends upon, induced drag is nothing but it is depends upon the lift. It produced due to wingtip vortices. So that is.
Sir, can you repeat the turbulent and laminar part?
Yeah. Thing is, when you have a turbulent flow, what happens? Flow remains attached with the surface because there will be no. If there is a laminar flow, let us assume that there is a laminar flow on the surface. When there is a laminar flow, I told is an issue. Okay. When there is a laminar flow, even if there is a small disturbance, or if your aerofoil is too long, what happens? There will be no additional energy to flow through the trailing edge. So it will get detached somewhere here. So it will get detached somewhere at this location. It gets detached somewhere at this location. So what happens? Due to detachment of flow from the surface, what happens? There will be pressure drag. But what happens is, if you have a turbulent flow is not easy to get separated. So turbulent flow will not easily get separated, even if there is a small disturbance, because there will be lot of energy to work, lot of energy to uh, flow towards the end also. So what happens? The flow will remain attached with the surface till the end. Flow will remain attached with the surface till the end. When flow remains attached with the surface till the end, what happens? Flow is on attached with the surface. Thereby, what happens? Skin friction drag will be more during turbulent flows. So that's why, because in order to travel longer, that's why Gulf wall is made with dimples. Gulf wall with the dimples, what happens is, uh, since there is a dimples in the Gulf wall, it transition takes place from laminar to turbulent. Since there is a turbulent flow over the Gulf wall, it travels a longer distance. If there is no dimples on the Gulf wall, if there is no dimples on the Gulf wall, what will happen is flow will be remaining laminar throughout. So it will get easily separated. Thereby it cannot travel a larger distance. That is why we are using a Gulf wall with dimples. So in order to travel longer, thereby reducing this pressure drag. But in order, while we are doing so, what happens? There will be a skin friction drag more because of additional energy which is rubbing on the surface. Okay. Now, second drag coefficient is induced drag coefficient, which is happens due to lift, that is pressure distribution on top and bottom. There will be high pressure distribution on top, low pressure distribution on bottom, which causes, sorry, sorry. There will be low pressure distribution on the top due to suction, and there will be high pressure distribution on the bottom. This high pressure region tends to meet the low pressure region like this in the spanwise direction, thereby causing a drag which is acting downward. That component is called as induced drag coefficient, which is reducing your lift. It is produced due to lift and it is opposing the lift. Thereby, what happens? This kind of drag is called as induced drag coefficient. It depends upon two parameters. One is lift coefficient. Second is Oswald lift deficiency factor. Third one is aspect ratio. It depends upon three parameters. First, Oswald lift deficiency factor. E is equal to 1 for elliptical wing platform. E equal to 1 for elliptical wing. Elliptical wing E is equal to 1. So induced drag is lowest for the elliptical wing. Induced drag is lowest for elliptical wing or elliptical lift distribution. Okay. Remaining all wings E is less than 1, thereby induced drag is highest. For all other wings, E is less than 1, thereby induced drag is highest. Okay. Induced drag is high compared to elliptical wing. Is high. Okay. Now, next parameter is aspect ratio. Whenever aspect ratio is higher, that is, whenever aspect ratio is higher, then induced drag is lowest. Induced drag is lowest. When aspect ratio increases, induced drag decreases. When aspect ratio increases, induced drag decreases. If aspect ratio is equal to infinity, that means it is only just a 2D aerofoil. If it is a 2D aerofoil, induced drag coefficient will be 0. It is only a 2D aerofoil, induced drag coefficient is 0. Is that clear? Any doubt here? No issues, right? So, thrust required is nothing but drag, which is nothing but CD naught plus KCL square, where K is nothing but 1 divided by pi ER, where K is nothing but 1 divided by pi ER into R rho V square S. So, we can rewrite this as K1 into V square plus K2 divided by V square. So, it is nothing but where K1 is CD naught into half rho S, where K2 is KW square by half rho S. If we equate thrust required equal to thrust available using this equation, we will get the two velocities, which is nothing but minimum and maximum velocity. We generally measure aircraft performance in jet engine in terms of thrust rather than power. So, for all jet engine aircraft, if we assume thrust available equal to thrust required, what happens is this gives my minimum and maximum velocity. That is, this is your thrust required curve. This is my thrust available curve. So, what happens is, so it gives me my minimum and maximum speed. This is my minimum speed. This is my maximum speed. So when thrust available equal to thrust required, I'll get what is my minimum and maximum speed. When I differentiate and equate to 0, what I get is the condition for minimum drag I get. What is the condition for minimum drag is CD naught equal to CDI. That is when my parasite drag, that is when my profile drag coefficient is equal to induced drag coefficient. That is where my drag minimum occurs. That is when my drag minimum occurs. Okay. So while doing so, I'll get my minimum drag velocity as root fourth root of k by CD naught into root of 2w by rho s. Even minimum drag velocity depends upon density. That is, it depends upon altitude. It depends upon altitude and weight of your aircraft. It depends upon altitude and weight of your aircraft. And it also depends upon my parasite drag coefficient and induced drag coefficient and wing area. Okay. So my minimum drag lift lift coefficient for minimum drag is nothing but root of CD naught by CD naught by CK. So thing is CL for minimum drag is nothing but root of CD naught by K. So from this we'll get, when I substitute in my drag polar equation, CD naught plus KCL square. So instead of CL, if I substitute this, I'll get CD is also 2 CD naught. So my drag minimum, if I substitute CD in my drag equation, that is CD plus half rho v square, in that equation if I substitute my velocity for minimum drag also, if I substitute in that equation, what happens? My drag minimum will become 2w into root of CD naught K. From this equation, we understand that drag minimum depends upon weight, but it is independent of altitude. Drag minimum is independent of altitude. That is, doesn't depend upon altitude. Why? Because there is no density term. It depends upon weight. Okay. So it means that whenever as altitude increases, also this is my drag versus velocity curve. Okay, this is at lower altitude. This is at higher altitude. Yeah, please. Somebody. This is at lower altitude. This is at higher altitude. When altitude increases also, my drag minimum remains the drag minimum remains same. That is, it doesn't change with respect to altitude. Only thing is the velocity at which drag minimum occurs changes, but drag minimum doesn't change with respect to altitude. The velocity at which my drag minimum occurs changes, but my drag minimum doesn't change. Is that clear? Any doubt in this? It is the condition for drag minimum is the condition for maximum endurance of jet engine, aircraft, and it is the condition for maximum range of piston engine aircraft. Maximum range of piston engine aircraft. So drag minimum is the condition for maximum endurance of jet engine aircraft, and it is a condition for maximum range of piston engine aircraft. Okay, is that clear? Any doubt here? Now, first, my drag polar equation I'm drawing in terms of drag versus velocity curve. There are two parameters, that is drag is nothing but CD naught plus KCL square, CD naught plus KCL square into half rho V square S. Okay, so CD naught into half rho V square S. This is the term which, that is, parasite drag coefficient increases with respect to velocity. Induced drag coefficient decreases with respect to velocity. So this is parasite drag coefficient which increases with respect to velocity. This is induced drag coefficient which decreases with respect to velocity. The center region is the region in which I can travel. That is, I can only follow this trend, drag versus velocity. That is what my thrust required versus velocity curves. So it can only follow this trend, that is this trend. In between this regime only, my drag varies. So it cannot go below this region. It can only go in this region. So thrust required versus velocity depends, curve is like this. Okay. Next one is minimum power condition. It is the condition for maximum endurance of piston engine aircraft. It is the condition for maximum endurance for piston engine aircraft. It is the condition for maximum endurance of piston engine aircraft. Power required is directly is equal to K1 into VQ plus K2 divided by V, where K1 is nothing but CD naught into half rho S, where K2 is nothing but K, that is K is nothing but 1 divided by pi ER, KW squared by half rho S. Okay. So power required is W is equal to W power 3 by 2, W power 3 by 2 divided by CL power 3 by CD into 2 divided by rho S into 2 divided by rho S. So what happens is power required depends upon weight. As weight increases, no, power required increases. Power required is minimum only when CL power 3 by 2 by CD is maximum. And power required changes with respect to altitude. Power required, minimum power required also changes with respect to altitude. Why? Because there is a density term here. So minimum power required changes with respect to altitude. It doesn't remain same as drag minimum. So it is affected by the altitude. Power required minimum is affected by the altitude. The minimum power required is CL power 3 by 2 by CD max condition is nothing but CD naught into CD naught equal to 1 by 3 CDL. This is the power required minimum conditions. CD naught equal to 1 by 3 CDL. So, if I substitute CD naught equal to 1 by 3 CDI, what happens to my minimum velocity is, minimum power required velocity is nothing but fourth root of B by 3A. That is A means that is B minimum power is fourth root of B by 3A into 2W by rho S. In some textbook, it is written as K divided by 3 CD naught into 2W by rho S. So what happens? Minimum power required velocity is directly proportional to, that is equal to, we can write it as equal to 1 by fourth root of 3 into V minimum drag, which is nothing but 0.7598 times of V minimum drag. That is, minimum power required speed is lesser than the minimum drag speed. Minimum power required speed is lesser than the minimum drag speed. It is only 75% of, around 75 to 76% of minimum drag speed. So what happens is minimum power speed is always less than the minimum drag speed. Okay. How the power required versus velocity curve is, it will be like this. So there will be two trends, right? One is power required is nothing but K1 into PQ, K2 divided by V. K1 into V cube follows this trend. K2 divided by V follows this trend. So power required is also follows. Power required also can only be varying in this in between this quantity. So this is due to directly proportional to V 1 divided by V. This is directly proportional to 1 divided by V. This is directly proportional to V cube. So power required follows this trend. So what happens? Minimum power required varies with respect to altitude. That's what we have seen now. It depends upon density. So minimum power required varies with respect to altitude. Thereby, power required as altitude increases. Power required as altitude increases like this. Thereby, minimum power required increases with respect to altitude. Minimum power required increases with respect to altitude. But minimum drag remains same with respect to altitude. It doesn't change with respect to altitude. That you have to keep in mind. Okay. So CL for minimum power is nothing but, it is nothing but 3 CD naught by K. 3 CD naught by K. CD for minimum power is nothing but 4 CD naught. So L by D for minimum power will be equal to 0.866 of L by D for minimum drag. This is the parameter we'll be using for design calculations. In Raymer also you would have seen this parameter L by D equal to 0.866 times of L by D max something. It is due to minimum power condition. So we are deriving the derivation for maximum endurance. So they are designing if the airplane is designed for maximum endurance. That is when the piston engine aircraft designed for maximum endurance, then it should be 0.866 times of L by D max. Okay. If any doubt, please let me know. Now, minimum drag to velocity. Minimum drag to velocity. This is the condition for maximum. This is the condition for maximum range of jet engine aircraft. Maximum range of jet engine aircraft. So, my V minimum drag to velocity is nothing but it is fourth root of 3 K by CD naught into 2W by rho s. My drag to velocity is nothing but 1 divided by CL power 1 by 2 by CD into root of weight into density into wing area divided by 2. So drag to velocity minimum occurs only when CL power 1 by 2 by CD becomes maximum. So when I obtain this condition CL power 1 by 2 by CD maximum, I get what is my drag to velocity minimum. From this, CL for minimum drag to velocity is nothing but root of CD naught by 3K. CL for minimum drag to velocity is nothing but of CD naught by 3K. And CD for minimum drag to velocity is nothing but 4 CD naught by 3. 4 by 3 CD naught. So condition for minimum drag to velocity is nothing but CD naught equal to 3 CDA. This is the condition for minimum drag to velocity. Now we'll see how various parameters like lift coefficient, drag coefficient, how it is affects my velocity, drag, and power required, how it is affecting. We'll see. The effects of weight and density on various parameters. First, velocity. We all know that velocity equal to 2W by rho s CL. This is for a steady level flight. If it is a climbing flight, there will be a cos gamma term also. Okay. So the thing is velocity equal to root of 2W by rho s CL. Now there is a density term. So what happens as altitude increases? When altitude increases, density decreases. So velocity is nothing but 2W by rho s CL. So when altitude increases, density decreases. So my velocity increases. In order to maintain steady level flight at an higher altitude compared to sea level altitude, I have to fly faster. If I am not flying faster, I cannot maintain steady level flight compared to sea level condition. At sea level, let us assume that if you are flying at 40 meters per second, then if you are flying at an higher altitude, that means you have to travel at, let us assume that some 100 feet height you are traveling additional. So you might be ending up in 40.5 meter per second. So if you are traveling at an higher velocity only, what happens? You can maintain steady level flight because density decreases. So in order to compensate for decreasing the density, you have to increase the velocity to maintain the steady level flight. What is steady level flight? Lift equal to weight. So when lift is not balanced by weight, then you cannot maintain a steady level flight. Okay. Second thing. How it is? So V at an altitude divided by V at sea level. Sea level, I am indicating it by infinity. So it is nothing but rho infinity by rho. It is depends upon 1 by sigma, root of sigma. Sigma is nothing but the relative density. Sigma is the relative density. In fluid mechanics, relative density, we call it differently. That is density of liquid divided by density of water. But here the relative density, we call that as density at an higher altitude divided by density at sea level. Density at any altitude divided by density at sea level. That is called as relative density. Okay. So as altitude increases, density decreases, thereby my velocity increases. This is the first condition. Next, we'll see what happens to power required. Power required is nothing but thrust required into velocity. What is my thrust required? It is W by CL by C. What is my velocity? 2W by rho S CM. Okay. So power required power required is directly proportional to 1 by root of sigma. So as altitude increases, my power required increases. Why? Because when altitude increases, my density decreases, thereby power required increases. Power required increases. So that means at an higher altitude, if you have to travel, you require more power in order to overcome, in order to move forward. Okay, you require more power from the engine in order to move forward. If you are having lesser power, what happens? You cannot move forward at an higher altitude. Next, thrust required minimum. Thrust required minimum. That is nothing but drag minimum. That is nothing but drag minimum. That is equal to 2W root of AB, which is nothing but 2W root of CD naught into K. So drag minimum is independent of altitude. So drag minimum does not increase with respect to altitude. Drag minimum doesn't increase with respect to altitude. It remains same. Increase with altitude, increase or decrease with altitude. So remains same. Drag minimum remains same with respect to altitude because it doesn't contain any density. But the drag minimum, thrust required minimum is directly proportional to weight. As weight increases, my thrust required minimum increases. So if I have more thrust only, Because in order to overcome this thrust required, I have to provide more thrust by the engine. Then only we can maintain again steady level flight. If you are having a lesser thrust available, then you will not be able to be maintaining the same altitude. What happens? In order to maintain same altitude, then you have to, in order to maintain a steady level flight, then you have to lower your altitude. So either you have to lower your altitude, or when altitude increases, you have to provide more power. If you are not having enough power, then what happens? Obviously, you will lose altitude. Okay. Now we'll see what happens to piston engine characteristics. I already told you, piston engine aircraft, we always measure in terms of power. Jet engine aircraft, we always measure in terms of thrust. Power. There is some issues with the words. Sorry. Power available versus power available for a jet engine aircraft. What happens? Power available increases with respect to velocity. As after certain velocity, what happens? Power available remains almost constant. Remains almost constant after certain velocity. With increase in velocity, first initially power available increases, but after certain velocity, what happens? Power available remains constant. As altitude increases, my power available decreases. That is, let us assume this is sea level. As altitude increases, that is 5 kilometer or 10 kilometer altitude, what happens? My power available decreases. So power available decreases, but power required increases. As altitude increases, power required increases, but power available decreases. Power available for a piston engine aircraft is proportional to efficiency of the propeller into brake power. Power available is proportional to efficiency of the propeller into brake power, which is nothing but shaft power. At constant altitude, if you take any altitude, for example, sea level, what happens is brake power is more or less constant. That is, your shaft power is more or less constant. It is constant almost. Okay. But as velocity increases, my efficiency of the propeller alone increases. My efficiency of the propeller increases. Okay. That is, my brake power is independent of forward speed of the airplane. Okay. In piston engine aircraft. In piston engine aircraft, my brake power or shaft power is independent of forward speed of the airplane. Only efficiency of my propeller increases as my forward speed increases. It increases more rapidly at lower speed, but less rapidly at an higher speed. After certain speed, what happens? My efficiency also remains constant. After certain speed, my efficiency of the propeller also remains constant. That is why initially there is an increase in power available with respect to velocity, but after certain speed, what happens? Power available is more or less constant. So this is how power available behaves with respect to velocity. But what happens when it is increase in altitude? As altitude increases, what happens is when altitude increases, what happens to my power available is power available, I already told you, it depends upon efficiency of the propeller and brake power. That is my shaft power. Increasing altitude reduces the brake power. Power available is directly proportional to brake power. As altitude increases, my brake power available decreases, thereby my power available decreases. Why the brake power decreases? Due to decrease in atmospheric pressure. As altitude increases, not only density decreases, pressure also decreases. Thereby, my brake power decreases. Thereby, my power available decreases. But if you have a supercharger in your aircraft, so power available can be maintained. That is, whenever there is a supercharger, what happens? What is the function of supercharger is to increase the pressure. So when pressure increases, again brake power increases. Thereby, you can maintain the sea level brake power also at an higher altitude. So power available can be increased by increasing pressure with the help of supercharger. Hence, piston engine can produce more or less the same power as the sea level at an higher altitude also. But this can be only done up to full throttle height. That is, if you pull the throttle fully, at what height the throttle can go, up to that altitude only. With the help of supercharger, you can increase the pressure, thereby maintain the same power available at the sea level as that of sea level. But as altitude further increases or beyond the full throttle height, we cannot, with the help of supercharger, maintain the same power available. That means power available decreases with respect to altitude in case of piston engine. Okay. Now we'll see what happens with respect to supercharger with and without supercharger.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, in the previous one graph you have shown where you say that the efficiency of the propeller increases initially with the velocity and after it becomes constant.
More or less constant. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do we consider a fixed pitch propeller in this case already?
No. Mostly we'll be using a variable pitch propeller. In most
It's a
of the
variable
aircraft,
pitch
we'll not be using a fixed pitch propeller.
Yeah,
Fixed
but
pitch.
mhm. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Continue.
What happens is, if you are using a single pitch propeller, what happens is my efficiency only follows this trend. Only one trend. Pressure coefficient
Yes.
versus my efficiency is only one trend. But what happens is, if I use a variable pitch propeller, it adjusts to various speeds. Efficiency versus speed, what happens is, it adjusts to various speed. At what speed, what is the better efficiency? It can manage that if you are using a same variable pitch propeller. Otherwise, you will be having only particular speed, your efficiency will be maximum. Beyond
Yes,
that
sir.
or lower than that speed, you cannot maintain the efficiency.
Yeah, so sir, if we are using a variable pitch propeller, then a variable pitch propeller can be trimmed to the very low velocity or the takeoff conditions. So why do
Yeah.
we consider that there is a dip in the efficiency at low velocities? Why do we consider that?
Why there is initially when you have to rotate, what happens? You'll be losing your all of a sudden you cannot gain efficiency, right? Only when
Yeah. Okay,
particularly
so
when you achieve
when
certain
you
mass
say
flow
low,
rate,
okay, when you say low velocities, you mean like near to takeoff ranges.
negate to take off rate.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Okay. What happens with and without supercharger? What is the function of supercharger? First of all, supercharger. Without supercharger, your volume flow rate will be same. Without supercharger, your volume flow rate will be same. With supercharger also, your volume flow rate will be same. But without supercharger, your mass flow rate will be different because there is a difference in density. So mass flow rate will be different. With supercharger, mass flow rate can be maintained same. That is how you get. That is why we get increase in power available with the help of supercharger. Okay. So supercharger can help you to increase your power available with the help of increase in mass flow rate of air. Okay. Now, jet engine. What happens with respect to jet engine? Jet engine, I already told you, we measure jet engine performance with respect to thrust, not power. Okay, because in case of piston engine aircraft, there will be a shaft which rotates your propeller. So in order to rotate your propeller, there will be a gearbox and everything. So it rotates your propeller. So it is shaft power which is what we mainly concentrate. That is what controls your RPM of your propeller. But in jet engine aircraft, we only measure in terms of thrust, not in terms of shaft power, because there is no shaft involved in that jet engine aircraft. Okay, thrust available versus velocity. At sea level, thrust decreases slightly, and generally thrust available with respect to velocity remains constant. But at sea level, there is a slight dip in thrust available because as we start your engine, what happens? All the mass flow will rush through the engine. So there will be acting as a blockage in front of the engine. So let us assume this is your jet engine aircraft. Sorry, this is your jet engine. This is your combustion chamber compressor. This is your compressor. This is your turbine. This is your turbine. This is your combustion chamber. Okay. This is your jet engine. This is your compressor. Okay. This is your turbine. This is your combustion chamber. So this is your nozzle. This is your diffuser. Now what happens when you start the engine? All the air will rush through this diffuser. So all the air when started rushing, what happens? It acts as a blockage. When there is a blockage, what happens? There will be loss of thrust due to blockage of air. Since when all the air try to rush in, what happens? It acts as a blockage, thereby my mass flow rate of air decreases, thereby my thrust available decreases. That is why at sea level, there is a slight dip in thrust available curve. Once after certain ram pressure is built up, thrust available gradually increases. But as altitude increases, already there is a mass flow rate of air entering freely. So it is passing freely. So there is enough ram pressure is built in. Thereby, due to decrease in mass flow rate, because of decrease in density, my thrust available decreases with respect to altitude. Since thrust available is more or less constant, my power available curve with respect to velocity is more or less linear. more or less linear. Means as velocity increases, my power available increases. Same way, as altitude increases, my power available decreases. My altitude increases, power available decreases. This is at an higher altitude, this is at sea level. So as altitude increases, my power available decreases. Okay. As altitude increases, my thrust decreases because of decrease in density. But as altitude increases, temperature also decreases. When temperature decreases, there will be increase in thrust due to reduction in inlet drag. That is, thrust is directly proportional to mass flow rate of air, velocity exit minus velocity inlet. The inlet velocity depends upon your temperature at the inlet. The inlet velocity depends upon the temperature at the inlet. So, this is a function of, we already know, it is root of 2c t naught t5 minus t naught, something like that. 2cp into t5 minus t naught. Okay. T naught is nothing but your inlet temperature. Okay, inlet temperature. So what happens? Because velocity depends upon the excitation of molecules. So it is depends upon the kinetic energy of molecules. The kinetic energy of molecules depends upon the temperature. So due to the excitation in temperature, that is the excitation of molecules only, there is an increase in temperature which causes increase in thrust. Because the velocity exit will be higher than the velocity inlet. Thereby we get a forward motion called thrust. Since as altitude increases, my inlet velocity decreases, that is my inlet drag decreases, thereby my thrust increases. But the decrease in thrust due to decrease in mass flow rate, that is your density, is more compared to the increase in thrust provided by the decrease in temperature at an higher altitude. Is that clear? But this only happens only when it is in troposphere, because in troposphere only as altitude increases, temperature decreases. But in stratosphere, what happens is temperature remains constant, but only your density decreases. Thereby, thrust available keep on decreases. Okay, keep on decreases. Is that clear? Any doubt, you can stop that point and you can ask your doubts. Now again, I go to piston engine aircraft. Next, I'll take piston engine aircraft. Power versus velocity. Piston engine. What is the effect on altitude? We'll see. As altitude increases, this is your power required curve at sea level. As altitude increases, my power required increases. This is at higher altitude. Higher altitude. This is at sea level. Okay. At sea level, my power available is maximum. At sea level, my power available is maximum. As altitude increases, my power available decreases. My dotted line is at higher altitude. straight line is at sea level. At sea level, my power available is maximum. As altitude increases, my power available decreases. So this is how my, this is the excess power. This is the excess power available at sea level. The excess power is nothing but power available minus power required. That is the excess power. See here, the excess power decreases. As altitude increases, see, the velocity increases. As altitude increases, the Vmax velocity increases. Because as altitude increases, power available decreases, power required also increases. So thereby Vmax increases. This is the Vmax at, one second please. I'll draw this curve again. Power versus velocity. As altitude increases, my power, this is my power required and power available at sea level. As altitude increases, my power required increases and shifts right. As altitude increases, my power available decreases, thereby it goes like this. So what happens is Vmax at and sea level is greater than the Vmax. This is Vmax at sea at an higher altitude. This is the Vmax at sea level. At sea level. So as altitude increases, the maximum velocity also decreases. The maximum velocity on a propeller driven airplane also decreases. Okay. The maximum velocity on the propeller driven airplane also decreases. The minimum velocity, since power available and power required on the minimum velocity side, it doesn't intersect. There is no clearly defined minimum velocity at sea level. So stall speed is generally the minimum speed on the airplane for a piston engine airplane at sea level. But as altitude increases, since the power available and power required curve also touches at the lower end, there is a minimum speed at which the airplane can travel. That means the range of speed as altitude maximum velocity at altitude. So as altitude increases, my maximum velocity decreases. And not only my maximum velocity decreases, the range of velocity it can operate also decreases. As altitude increases, at sea level, there is no clear-cut minimum velocity. So only the minimum velocity here is stalling speed. So, but at the higher end, there is a maximum intersection on the power available and power required. So there is a maximum velocity. So from sea level, when it is operating at sea level, it can operate in this range. That is, it can operate in the range of maximum velocity and stalling velocity, this range. But as altitude increases, since your power available decreases and power required increases, there is a minimum velocity. The curve intersects on the minimum velocity side also, and there is a maximum velocity side also. So the range it can operate at the higher altitude, it decreases. That means you can only operate in this velocity regime. You cannot operate the velocity regime, higher velocity regime. Okay. So only within this regime, your aircraft have better performance. Beyond this regime, your aircraft cannot have a better performance. Beyond this regime, you cannot go also. Okay. Only within this regime, your aircraft can perform. So what happens is, so as altitude increases, the range of velocity you can operate also decreases, and your minimum velocity increases and my maximum velocity decreases in piston engine aircraft. What happens when it comes to jet engine aircraft? What happens when I come to jet engine? When I come to jet engine aircraft, what happens? Again, I told you my thrust available decreases, but thrust available decreases with respect to altitude, and thrust required also increases with respect to altitude, same as that of your piston engine aircraft. But the only difference here is, what happens is, up to tropopass, that is up to troposphere, even though thrust falls, it falls less rapidly than your density, because thrust is directly proportional to density. As density decreases, my thrust decreases. Thrust is also directly proportional to temperature. That is, temperature means thrust is directly proportional to mass per unit of velocity exit minus velocity inlet. So it is in the minus sign. So inlet drag decreases as temperature decreases. My inlet drag decreases. Thereby my thrust increases. My inlet drag decreases. Thereby thrust increases. So what happens is, since thrust is decreasing not in the same as density decreases, because thrust also increases due to temperature, decrease in temperature, thereby thrust falls less rapidly than the density up to tropopass. Okay, up to tropopass. So what happens is, my maximum speed up to tropopass increases with respect to altitude. Beyond tropopass, what happens? My thrust falls more rapidly because temperature is constant. Thrust falls more rapidly. That is, it falls as in the same ratio of your density. So what happens is, thrust falls more rapidly. Thereby, my maximum speed decreases. That is only when if I express airspeed in terms of true airspeed. If I measure airspeed in terms of equivalent airspeed, if I measure in terms of equivalent airspeed, thrust falls. That when I measure in terms of equivalent airspeed, what happens is my maximum speed decreases with altitude, even at turbopass also decreases with the altitude. That is, what happens is if I measure in terms of true airspeed, as altitude increases, my true maximum speed increases up to turbopass. Beyond turbopass, what happens? There is no compensation of thrust due to decrease in temperature because beyond turbopass it is in stratosphere where temperature remains constant. Thereby, there is no assistance or increase in thrust due to decrease in temperature. Thereby, thrust falls more rapidly. Thereby, my maximum speed decreases beyond turbopass. Up to turbopass, my maximum speed increases. Beyond turbopass, my maximum speed decreases. Okay. But if we express maximum speed in terms of equivalent airspeed, my maximum speed decreases at any altitudes. That is even in turbopass also and even in stratosphere also. Okay. Piston engine as a peculiar phenomenon. Why piston engine performance are better at low speed and jet engine aircraft are better at high speed is piston engine aircraft. It can even produce static thrust. That is, even when it is on the ground, even if it is not moving forward, there will be a static thrust produced by the piston engine aircraft. As soon as propeller starts rotating, it starts producing thrust. So this is my thrust available versus velocity curve for a piston engine aircraft. Thrust available versus velocity curve. So it goes like this. After certain speed, it decreases. This is due to sonic barrier. Sonic barrier or sound barrier, we can say. That is due to tip compressibility effects. Beyond a certain speed, what happens? My thrust available keeps on decreases because uh, at the tip of the propeller, flow gets separated. When I rotate at an higher RPM, that is when I move forward at an higher speed, what happens? My tip flow gets separated, thereby my thrust available decreases beyond certain speed, like this, more drastically after certain speed. But what happens is, even at lower speed, that is, even at zero speed, my thrust, there is a thrust available. So what happens is, there is more static thrust in case of piston engine aircraft. More static thrust in case of piston engine aircraft. Since there is more static thrust, what happens is takeoff distance required for piston engine aircraft is less. Takeoff distance required for piston engine aircraft is less. Since jet engine aircraft doesn't produce any static thrust at all, that is only when turbine starts rotating, that rotates your compressor, thereby compression takes place, which in turn produces a difference in velocity, which causes forward motion called as thrust. So what happens is there is no static thrust. So jet engine aircraft can only perform at a higher speed, whereby takeoff distance required for jet engine aircraft is more compared to piston engine aircraft. Okay. This is what we have seen with the effect of altitude and speed. Now we will see what happens with respect to weight of your aircraft. First, what happens due for drag? First of all, what happens? We'll end this section after this weight.